Have you ever wondered why some brands just get it? Their message connects instantly, right? While other brands, even the ones with amazing products, just feel like static. Well, the difference isn't some kind of marketing magic. It's actually a really simple story framework, and it can turn all that chaos into something clear, powerful, and totally unforgettable. Let's get into it.
So this brings us to the big idea for today, noise versus music. I want you to think about this for a second. Both are made of the exact same thing, sound waves, right? Notes. The only thing that separates them is structure. Noise is random, confusing, and our brains are literally hardwired to tune it out. But music has a structure. It tells a story. And that's why you can still have a song from 20 years ago pop into your head, but you can't for the life of you remember the sound of traffic from yesterday.
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with the single biggest mistake people make in marketing. Then we'll get into the science of why most of it just fails. After that, we'll unpack the universal story script that is the solution to all this. We'll talk about the most important mindset shift you need to make, how to raise the stakes for your customer, and then finally, we'll pull it all together so you can start turning that noise into music.
Let's kick things off with marketing's biggest mistake. You see, so many businesses with incredible products go under, and they think the problem was the product. But it's almost never about the product. The real problem is how they talk about it. See, without a clear story, their message just becomes a bunch of confusing noise that customers are biologically programmed to ignore.
So, why? Why do so many messages just fall completely flat? It's not because people are mean or they don't care. It's because our brains have evolved over thousands of years for one main job: survival.
So any message you put out there has to get past two really tough bouncers at the door of your customer's brain. First, the brain wants to conserve calories. That's its job. So if your message is too complicated, it gets tossed right out to save energy. Second, the brain is constantly scanning the environment for stuff that helps it survive and thrive. If your marketing doesn't clearly show how it helps someone live a better, safer, or more successful life, it's just going to get filtered out.
And this all ties back to something you probably heard about in school, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. To get past that survival filter, your product has to connect to a really basic human desire. Does it help them save money, build better relationships, find a deeper purpose? If you can't make that connection crystal clear, the brain just decides your message isn't worth the calories. So how do you do it? How do you craft a message the brain actually wants to hear? You use the one format it's been programmed to love for centuries: a good story.
Okay, so we know the problem and we know why it's happening. The solution, believe it or not, is a super simple, universal story framework. And this isn't some new marketing gimmick. This is a script that's been used in movies and books for thousands of years. And it works because it's exactly how our brains are wired to take in information.
And here it is, the whole shebang. The 7 parts. A character has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action that helps them avoid failure and ends in success. That is it. Seriously, from Star Wars to The Hunger Games to Finding Nemo, pretty much every story you've ever loved follows this exact roadmap. And once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it.
Now we are at the most important and honestly, the most counterintuitive part of this entire framework. This is the one piece that almost every brand gets wrong, and it completely changes the game when you get it right. It's all about understanding your real role in your customer's story.
The single most common, most damaging mistake a brand can make is trying to be the hero of the story.
And here it is, the big aha moment. Your customer is the hero, period. Your brand is the guide. You're not Luke Skywalker, you're Yoda. You're not Katniss Everdeen, you're Haymitch. Your job is not to win the day. Your job is to give the hero the plan, the tools, and the encouragement they need to win the day for themselves. I mean, think about Apple. Their commercials always show a regular person, the hero, creating something amazing using an Apple product. The customer is always the star. Apple is just the guide that gave them the magic wand.
So what does a good guide actually do? Well, first off, they show empathy. The guide looks at the hero, at your customer, and says, I see your problem. I understand what you're going through. And that simple act of just expressing that you get it, that builds an instant foundation of trust. The hero finally feels seen, they feel heard, and they know they're not alone in this.
But empathy, on its own, is not enough. The second quality of a great guide is authority. The hero has to know that you can actually help them solve their problem. Now, this isn't about being arrogant or bragging, it's about building confidence. And you can do this easily with things like testimonials from happy customers, awards you've won, powerful statistics, or even just showing the logos of other people you've successfully guided to victory.
Okay, so
Your customer is the hero. You are their empathetic and authoritative guide. What's next? Well, now we get to the guide's two most important jobs, giving the hero a really clear path forward and making it crystal clear what's at stake if they don't take that path.
A good guide always gives the hero a plan. And there are two types you can use. First, there's a process plan. This is just 3 or 4 simple, clear steps your customer takes to do business with you. This removes all the confusion. Then you have an agreement plan. This is basically a promise that takes away their fear of risk. Think of something like a money-back guarantee. When you put these two together, you make it so easy for the hero to say yes.
But here's the thing. Even with a guide and a super clear plan, heroes are often hesitant. They won't act without being challenged. You have to give them a clear, direct call to action. I'm not talking about passive little suggestions. I mean clear commands like buy now, or schedule a call, or get started today. You have to spell out exactly what you want them to do next.
And finally, every good story needs stakes. A great guide paints a vivid picture of 2 possible futures. First, the happy ending. What amazing, beautiful life will the hero have if they use your product? But just as important, you have to show them the tragic ending. What negative things are going to keep happening if they do nothing? And you know what? Believe it or not, the desire to avoid that pain is often a way more powerful motivator than the promise of gain.
And this is where it all comes together. We've gone from understanding the problem, all that confusing noise, to finding the solution in a timeless story structure. Now you have the tools to actually craft your brand's unique message using this framework, and it can transform how you communicate forever.
So let's recap those 7 parts one more time. A hero who has a problem meets a guide who gives them a plan and a clear call to action. This leads to a successful ending and helps them avoid failure. See, this isn't just another marketing tactic. This is how you finally stop making noise and start making music. By following this simple structure, you're not just selling something, you're inviting your customers into a story where they get to be the victor. And that is a story they will never, ever forget.
So there you have it. You now have the exact framework that powers the most compelling stories in the entire world. You have the tools to clarify your message and to connect with your customers on a deep, fundamental human level. The only question left is the one you see right here. What story are you going to tell?